where we explore. Sorry. So again, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining this webinar where we explore the e-commerce business canvas. Before we start off with the material, if you may, I would like to see a show of hands. How many of you are familiar with the term business model canvas? If you can, click on the raise your hand button so I can see. Great. So we have 7 people that know this term, and we will all go ahead and have a look at what Business Canvas is all about and how we can actually tailor it for e-commerce. So let us begin our journey.
Exactly. Today, Dr. Mazen, he will talk about the business canvas. He will talk about how to build e-commerce business canvas, what are the 9 blocks of the canvas, and how to prepare a good business canvas for our business. So we are all excited to know more details, especially that we will have an example and we will go into details to know all about that and to know how to do it properly for our own business. So as we see, we have 7 over 25. So most of us will need more details about that. So Dr. Mazen, floor is yours. And
thank you so much. All right, so let us start by introducing the business model canvas tool. And then we will have a look at the building blocks of an e-commerce business canvas. And after that, we will go ahead and explore how to prepare an e-commerce business canvas. And finally, we'll have a look at an example of an e-commerce business canvas. But please, if you have questions along the way, kindly post it in the chat, or if you would like, you can raise your hand that we can take questions. What I would like to do is to have this as an interactive session. I don't want to be, just one-side communication. So please, let's all have fun while we learn.
You can lower your hands, guys.
Great. Let us first introduce this tool, Business Model Canvas. And some of you have heard of it. Others will get to learn about it. But let me start with this. Felix Dennis, who's a renowned publisher and a poet, wrote a book called How to Get Rich. And in that book, he says that ideas don't make you rich. The correct execution of ideas does. So what he means, in other words, is that ideas are necessary, but not sufficient. This is the hard truth about business ideas. Even if you have a great business idea, the fact is, success is far from assured if your idea is not coupled with a solid business model that actually maps the different business challenges and also plans and organizes the right activities using a certain tool that showcases everything and helps you with the execution easily and visually. And this is what the business model canvas does. So what is this language all about? A business model canvas? It's a great tool that will help you translate your business idea into a viable and scalable and also financially sustainable business model, because it allows you to describe and design, invent, and improve every business model you can imagine, so you can actually tailor it. Now it has 9 building blocks. If you can see over here, you have 9 building blocks that are presented on a single comprehensive slide or a paper, and whereby you can easily understand how they all fit together. With this tool, you're able to understand the big picture, not just products or services. You want to have an idea of how things will happen on a mass view, the eagle eye perspective, not just the micro level where we talk about a product and a service. If it's actually the business model that makes the business or breaks it, then you can imagine how important a well-prepared business model canvas is. But some of you might ask, how does this one-pager compare to a traditional multi-page business plan? Who would like to name a few? I would like to see some of you suggest what are the advantages do you believe that this business model can provide compared to a business plan? If you can take a minute to think and raise your hand, please. Who would like to take a shot at this? I can see Blessing's hands up. So if you can turn on your mic and share your thought with us, and I would invite others also to do the same.
Okay,
yes,
so
Blessing.
My name is Blessing. So a business model canvas, okay,
yes,
is like a snippet, a small version of your business plan. So let me get a little bit. So a business model canvas immediately tells you, from looking at them, the kind of things, the people you work with, your customers, the strategy you want to use, the buyers, the value proposition, your cost of revenue and all that. While your business plan is a bigger version of, translating this business model canvas into something that is bigger and maybe for a long time, 5 years, 3 years, but business model canvas gives you like an overall idea of what you need to actually take your business from where you are to the next level. That is my understanding.
That's a correct understanding. And I'm looking to find out what are the advantages of having this single paper.
Can I say something?
I have Amen first, from mine.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Doctor. My name is Amen Mshanyuki. I'm the current co-founder of the Global Ecommerce Society. So the business model canvas gives you a bird's eye view on how your business can operate, unlike the business plan, which is a document composed of 2 main pages and chapters, which also gives you a long and short of reading through and understanding how your business is supposed to operate. But the business model canvas is an advantage that it connects the dots between the value proposition, the customer segments, as well as the revenue streams of which your e-commerce business is supposed to generate revenue, which is very key. So by connecting all those dots, you can also quickly do risk assessment and fill in the gaps within your business that you are trying to form or the business that you are running.
Beautiful thoughts. Hold that thought. That's great. Thank you. Who else would like to have a pitch at this? Any more hands up?
I don't know how to put my hands up, but can I?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So the difference between a full-fledged business plan and a business canvas is that with a business canvas, you can pivot your business
Randa, you're
model.
cutting off.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So
we
the
cannot
business,
hear you.
We can now. It's better.
I'm able to hear Randa clearly.
Okay. So basically, a business plan. Mazen, you're cutting off. I'm fine. So a business plan canvas allows the business model to be a lean business model, so you can pivot your idea easily. It is a more modern way of dealing with the business plan, especially for startups. So Dr. Mazen is gone. I guess he's gonna have to come back.
Okay, apologize everyone. We have a beautiful situation here in Lebanon that I believe most of you know of. It's called dropping internet.
Okay.
So just give me a second. I'm going to reshare my stuff and then we can move forward. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Randa, I missed out on what you were
Yeah, no,
saying.
I'm going to say it again. It's just short. It's that the difference between a business plan, a fully fledged one, and a business canvas on a one-pager is that it allows you to have a lean business model. It will allow you to pivot your idea easily. It's very good for a startup because it will allow you to modify it as you go. And it's a dynamic business plan. So it's really, really made for when you have an idea. It's not necessarily for a startup. So let's say you are Google and you have an idea within Google, you can use the business plan canvas for that as well. So this is my opinion of that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody who shared their thoughts. I can give you 4 advantages a business model canvas can actually have over a traditional business plan. So let's have a look at it together. The first thing you can imagine is that it actually provides greater focus because it has the greatest impact on driving growth while looking at the specific compartments. So again, gentleman said, business plan is big. This one is more focused. Even Blessing said it. Randa said it as well. Second thing, you can prepare it in a shorter span of time compared to the 100-pager business plan that really takes long hours to prepare. So speed is one of the key elements that it provides. Third of all, Randa mentioned the matter of changeability and adaptation because it's important to be able to make changes to the model easily and quickly. Sometimes you prepare the model. At one point of time, you start looking at things, investigating how things happen, and then you find out that you have to go back and fix stuff. So you need something that is changeable and adaptable fast. And last, it has a standard because then it's easy to understand by almost everyone. Okay, these are the 4 advantages that I can think of, which are key to the business model canvas compared to the traditional business plan that we are, all used to. Now, let us explore the 9 building blocks of an e-commerce business canvas, the traditional one. But before we go through with this, you need to understand that the business model canvas was developed by Swiss theorist Alexander Osterwalder back in 2005. But since then, it has continued to inspire new strategic models for business analysis. So people actually took it and they started working with it. So it got refurbished, of which the business model canvas developed for e-commerce business. So we know that the traditional business model canvas is 9 blocks. That's how it was developed. But now you have the capability to actually take it over and change the compartments in a way that fits your model, especially here for e-commerce. The original model with the 9 building blocks can be actually personalized according to your e-commerce business type in relationship with the issues that are actually being thought of and closer to your industry and sector. So the e-commerce business model canvas allows you to consider specific scenarios. For example, launching a product or dealing with an online positioning problem. So you can tailor it. It's not a rigid thing. But this is what you need to keep in mind. When opting for an e-commerce business model or another, you have to consider a series of obligations. You have to look at the factors that actually influence an e-commerce model before you can actually set up your business model canvas. The first thing you need to keep in mind when doing e-commerce is the matter of technology. And this includes all the software, hardware resources necessary to create and maintain your online shop if you're preparing an e-commerce website. Now, if you're working with another, with a service provider, we call a VMP, virtual marketplace, then they take over that part. Second thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to do shop management, which refers to all the phases of the sale through your online business, through virtual marketplaces. Third thing you need to keep in mind is the matter of logistics and payments, because those matter. And it has to do with the warehousing, the shipping, the delivery, the returns, payment solutions, which are vital to any e-commerce ecosystem. And they are actually difficult to manage. So you might as well, keep them in mind when you want to prepare your business model canvas for e-commerce. You have the marketing side, where e-commerce marketing entails launching ads online and ensuring a satisfactory shopping experience and a complete up-to-date product information across all platforms. So you want to be updated. You want your client to be updated. You want them to see your product and services as soon as they hit the market. You need to tell them that they can get your products. So we'll have a look at that later on. And you have the customer service perspective, the last factor here, which is very important because, you're not in a physical store. You're doing everything online. Your clients need to go in, see the product online, and they need to have a feel of it through the content, but then they're going to buy it. And if something happens, you need to be ready to handle any inquiries or any angry customer, resolve any problem. So a key point here in digital e-commerce is an excellent customer service, because you want to build up your customer experience. So 24/7 if possible. This implies that you need to have a great human effort put in place that not all businesses are actually ready for at this stage and at the start. These are quite the 5 most important factors that actually influence an e-commerce model. But now, taking into considerations those factors that matter to us for e-commerce, we can actually come up with this kind of template. So an e-commerce business canvas with 13 blocks or boxes. So just please take a few seconds to observe, and then we will explore them later on in the next section. So on the side here, you got the business strategy and planning. And then you have the customers next to it. You have the value proposition. You have the online sales channels. You have online marketing channels. You got competitors. You have the products and services. You have the resources needed. Over here, you got the logistics. You got the payments, so payment solutions. You have the customer service. And then down here, you have the e-commerce costs and the e-commerce revenue sources. So again, please have a look at this, because we're going to be working with this in the next section and try to see how it actually makes sense. But what I wanted to show you at this stage was how we transitioned from the typical business model canvas that you are used to, that has built in 2005, and how we tailored it to our case in e-commerce based on the 5 factors that we identified as being the most critical to e-commerce. I'm going to take a second here and see some of you have posted stuff on the please, Shadi, you're asking us to provide an e-commerce business canvas in order to download. We'll have a look at that later on. Blessing is asking us for a link to the canvas to download. Actually, this This is just set on the PowerPoint. We will see how to get it to you. Shall we move on? Are we okay until this point? Everything's okay? Does any of you have a question or a suggestion or a thought that he or she would like to share? Okay, moving on. In this section, we are actually going to see how we can prepare an e-commerce business model canvas, how we can fit things together. So we'll explore how to fill the 13 blocks of the e-commerce canvas and how to recognize and avoid common errors. But let me ask you a question, if you may. Again, if you have an answer, please post it on the chat or raise your hand. Take a minute, please, to think. Where do we start from? Which of these blocks do we start filling? If I can see a show of hands, please. Okay, I see one hand here. Just trying to find out who's the person. Sorry, it's a long list. I'm sorry. Muhammad, salam. Yeah. You're with us. If you can let us know your thoughts, where would you start from? Muhammad, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, Muhammad.
So, first of all, I would have started with filling my customers. I think before you don't know your customers, you can't start doing your business, right? Sorry, you caught me off guard.
Okay, who else would like to add onto this before we move and see it? Anybody has an idea? Suspicion?
I start from value proposition. I introduce to our customer. So we should understand and describe your value proposition, and then you focus on customer.
Thank you for the thoughts. I'm going to go into the chat and see some of the answers, if you don't mind. We have Curtis saying value proposition. Nadir saying customers. Sorry. Lidlare is saying value proposition. Wakesho is saying value proposition. Well, let's go together and have a look at what might be the truth about this. The thing is, there's no standard path or way to start off your business model canvas. It depends on the situation. You can typically start with the objective and purpose of the business, writing down the strategy and the planning. If you know the market, you can start by defining your customer segments and value proposition. But if you have a product idea but still do not know who your customers are, then you can start with value proposition, then try to define your customer segments. So there's really no right answer for it. No standard path. Let me tell you how I would go with it. So how I would proceed with this thing. As I said, you can typically start with the objective and the purpose of the business. And therefore you can define your business strategy and plan to adopt So you need to have the plan that you're going to be using, which also needs to reflect the mission and the vision of your business. So why do you exist? Why did you create this business? What are your objectives? Okay, who are you targeting? And we're going to see that in one of the examples. So I'm going to show you a business a business canvas that has been prepared by an SME. We're going to see it together and we're going to discuss it. So for me, we can start off with the business strategy and the planning. Again, there's no particular order you have to follow on a canvas. But although I found this to be the best place to start after defining the business strategy and planning, you can actually go to customer and value proposition. Why is that? Why is that? It's simply because your business is centered around your customers. The people who you believe will be motivated enough to try your new product or service in order to receive some sort of a compelling benefit. No, the customer is a real person. It is someone who is walking around right now. It could be looking at your stuff online. They're looking for a solution for their current problems, and they want to find ways to make their lives easier. And this is where the value proposition comes. So in the value proposition box, you usually describe what the customer is really looking for. This isn't about what we sell them, but rather why it matters and how your products and services make their lives better. So I would go for this as a second step. I would go for customers and value proposition. Now, which one comes first? Depends if you know the market or not. Before moving on, let me please just look at the chat and see. Okay. Thank you, Randa, for sharing. Okay, moving on. Step 3, I typically look at the products and services on one hand, and then the competitors. Products, need to be identified because you need to understand which are sellable online, because not all of your catalog is suitable for e-commerce sales. Okay, so you really need to pick the ones that can actually fit to be sold online on a VMP or your e-commerce website if you have one. One key matter to remember is that you would need to create suitable content both for your business and your products or services. So no matter what product you choose, you have to invest in time in order to create suitable content. So the description of that product, description of that service. If you have a product, you need to take some kind of photos. You need at least 4 photographies of that product so it becomes appealing and compelling for clients to see. On the other hand, you need to have a look at your competitors because you're not alone. And therefore, you need to identify your main competitors, what they're offering, their competitive advantage, how they're operating. All of this is a crucial part of the e-commerce business. So since it affects your ability to compete and sell your products or services and also return customers, that you would need to have competitors awareness. So it's good for you to know who are at least the top 5 that are directly competing with you. Before continuing, I'm gonna have a look at the chat as well to see. Again, thank you, Randa, for sharing.
The first time it was Elvira.
Sorry, I'm not always able to jump between the screens. Call it old age. I'm getting old, so call it old age.
No worries, Mazen. I am checking the chat, so if anything is needed, I will let you know.
Thanks,
Especially
Eva.
for the questions, I will get a list so that we can reply later on all the questions. So
Great.
please, everyone, if you have any questions, please add to the chat box so that we can reply by the end of the session.
All right, let's move on. Step 4. Now that we have a clear picture of who we're serving and how we'll delight them, we get to the design of 3 components. First of all, you need to look at how you're going to acquire your clients. So the sales perspective. What are the online sales channels that you might want to adapt? Sometimes you would opt to sell on your e-commerce website, or sometimes using WhatsApp, or maybe through virtual marketplaces. Well, however, you're going to pay a certain fee for the virtual marketplaces, VMPs, but still, that is a valid way for you to make sales online. The second element that you need to keep in mind is how you want to interact with your clients. So the marketing side. This means that you need to consider online marketing channels and leverage your social presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Third thing, you will need to understand how you want to keep your clients happy and how you can handle their complaints. So here we're talking about customer service and relationship management. And step number 5, considering that you know the market, considering that you know your clients, so you have an idea of what the products are, you would require resources. So resources here, we're talking about people, places, machines, technology infrastructure, patents, intangible assets, anything that you use for your e-commerce activity. This is not a complete inventory, by the way, but this is just a small list of the resources that, I mean, if you lose them, if you don't have them, will actually prevent your business from functioning. You need the human capital, the people, you need the infrastructure. You're doing e-commerce. Okay. So this is not an exhaustive list. You have to think it through, but at least you have to know that those are the basics. Without them, your business will not function correctly. And step number 6, you want to get the products delivered to your client. So you need to think about the matter of shipping. So if you have an e-commerce website, you would need to identify how and with what shipping and delivery provider you would want to work. Because at the end, you need to get your product delivered to the customer. And that customer has to pay for the product. So you would need to think about the payment solutions that you're going to adopt. Sometimes you might opt for online payments. In other instances, maybe you can have cash on delivery or both. It's up to you to see which is the best suitable model. But note that if in case you are actually selling your product or your service using a virtual marketplace, so it's a third party, it's not internal to you, it usually has its shipping and payment solutions readily for you to use. You need to pay them a certain commission or a fee, but they will handle the delivery and the payments on your behalf. This is why it's very important for you to understand that e-commerce has 2 segments. You can either do it on your own website, then you would need to round up your shipping and payment contracts with the suppliers that you want to work with. And if you're using a VMP, they handle that and you pay for it. Finally, we come to step number 7, where you start thinking about the costs and the revenues. So on the cost side, you need to think about the biggest expenses that you're going to put in when you're doing e-commerce, how much you spend, how frequently you spend it, and whether it changes as sales go up or down. These might include the salaries and wages, the raw materials, the advertising, maintaining your e-commerce website, or maybe paying commissions to virtual marketplaces you have listed on. And with e-commerce, it's very important to study the maintenance costs and costs associated with generating enough inventory to supply the market. So, I mean, I know of examples, people had, divided their business model and they were doing a lot of, sales, but in a physical store, and they were making profits. And when they decided to move onto a virtual marketplace, they did not include the costs of doing business on e-commerce, and they found that their profit margins were shrinking. So this is why it's very important for you to understand the cost structure of e-commerce before you go and start launching it. You don't want to have thin, margins, okay? You need to survive. And then on the revenue side, you have to understand the prices of each product, and the prices that are required by each customer segment, let's say, or the customer, the prices that the customer typically pays, and how many you can actually manufacture of that product, and how many you can actually sell or expect to sell. Here in this segment, the brand hopes to obtain profits from all the online sales channels, but it can foresee which ones will be more profitable, and therefore where it should actually concentrate most of its efforts. So the thing is, like, it's the 80-20 rule. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the Pareto law. And it typically says that 80% of, your revenue comes from 20% of sales, and the remaining 20% comes from 80%. So it's the 80-20 rule. What matters here, you want to understand which are the channels that help you bring in the money, and you have to concentrate on that. Because this also, it's important to know where you want to focus your resources. You don't have, your resources are limited, so you have to invest them in a correct way. Now, with all of these boxes here in the cost and revenue side, they are not a replacement for a proper financial model. This is what you should know. They are not a replacement for financial models, but they give you the ability to make basic forecasts. It also gives you a chance to think about your pricing strategy and use clever pricing that can massively increase the profitability of your business. So at least it gives you an indication and helps you start thinking about it. This is why we include it here. Now, here are some key thoughts about the canvas, 13 blocks and so on and so forth. And these are things that, you have to know. First of all, the 13 boxes that we just saw, they're not independent. Okay, they're not independent checklists, because that wouldn't help your idea. The thing is, the canvas needs to keep your ideas accountable. So if you make a promise somewhere on the right side, it has to be actually listed in one of the boxes on the left side. What I'm saying is that if you make a claim about keeping your customers happy, that should be reflected in your revenue streams. And if you expect to keep, your relationships with your client up and running, then this has to become part of your strategy and your cost structure. So first of all, you need to keep in mind, link the boxes together, keep your ideas accountable. Second thing I would recommend to you, don't go ahead and present your full business canvas to a new person and expect them to understand how things happen. That won't work. Instead, I would recommend that you try to present each box on its own in a way that you start building the explanation of your idea. So it's like cumulative. This makes the business model much easier to understand, and it creates a much richer appreciation of the model at the end by the person looking at it. Okay, so even if you list a few words in each box, This will take about 6 to 8 minutes to explain the full concept, and it will remove a lot of misconceptions. So don't hand over the business canvas to a person and expect them to know, okay? Tell your story. Show them how it's built up. Let them appreciate what you have. And this will help you later on to plan. And I believe Randa's gonna, go with me on this. If you write it correctly, tell the story correctly, you can pitch it for funding correctly if you're starting off a business. Am I right, Randa?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Now, the last thing I want you to take care for is that just because you wrote something clever on a canvas doesn't make it reality, okay? Remember, it's built on assumptions, so forecasts and assumptions. You have to try and verify them. So these assumptions that you've written, you need to test them and try to verify them, starting with the most crucial things. So you can conduct a type of, a research with real people, colleagues, other business people, sometimes customer segments. So when you talk to your customers, don't show them the canvas, but ask them some natural questions that will help you actually make sure that your assumptions are correct. And then go ahead and review the canvas until it becomes solid. Again, because I'm saying canvas is about assumptions. You want to try to test them and make sure that they're valid. And then if they're not, you need to refurbish, change, and review the business canvas until it becomes a solid one that you can actually use. So before we move on to the part where I show you the e-commerce business model, anyone has any question or would like to add a thought or an idea before I move on?
I just want to say something, if you don't mind, Dr. Mazen.
Please go ahead.
The typical business plan canvas is actually 9 blocks, right? And the one we used is 13 blocks because it's more detailed and it's more tailored for e-commerce. Is this what my question? Is this right?
Yes.
Because, yeah, okay.
Because we had to focus on the 5 factors,
the channels
that we mentioned to be most important for an e-commerce. So we had to take them out of the other boxes and give them their own boxes.
Yes.
Thank you for the question. Would anyone else have, does anyone else have a question or an idea that they would like to share?
I would like to ask, when it comes to services, I'm trying to think if I want to build a business model canvas for e-commerce website, but I offer services. And these services come in the form of training, in the form of consultancy, and some packages that can be developed online because we are into digital marketing. So I'm just trying to think what should I include in my model?
Excellent question, Tofara. Excellent question. And this
I
is
have
actually
done one.
exactly.
Yeah, I did one. Yeah.
I was just going to introduce you to this floor, Randa, because you've done one. And I had another SME that had a service that they wanted to offer. So Randa, please go ahead and share your thoughts with Tufara about this and everyone else, if you may.
First of all, whether you are selling a product or a service, okay, in principle, it really is the same way of thinking. So there is no real difference when you want to fill your your business plan canvas, okay? Because in essence, what you are doing is that you are creating under your strategy section, your vision, your mission, what's going to be your strategy. You are going to talk about what makes you unique under your value proposition. But maybe the difference will be in the way you price things, because you don't actually have a product, you don't have an inventory, but you have to price more. The financial model would be different a little bit. The channels that you will be used are different. For example, you won't be, for example, using platforms like, I don't know, you would be more using LinkedIn, okay, or Twitter, but less and less. For example, Facebook would be more on the passive side. So it's really, and I'm trying here to access the business plan canvas that I've done with one of my SMEs. 1 second. Can I? Would you like me to share it, Dr. Mazen, to show them how we did it?
Yeah, sure. We can do that after I can show them the example for the products, and then you can show the example for the service.
Yes, very good.
And then we can open up the floor for questions and help them fine tune.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's perfect.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and move with the example of an e-commerce business model, which was produced for a product. So here, we're going to briefly explore the main points of a business model with a hypothetical e-commerce business selling upcycled clothing. Okay, so here we're doing this for a business that does upcycling. Okay, so in the business strategy, for example, one of the ideas was to increase business to consumer sales. All right, build strong relationship with their partners, conduct business intelligence, and measure success using certain tools. So that was part of the business strategy and the planning. For the customers, they thought about having the Generation Z and millennials, and they had mainly for women who are aged between 18 and 50, for example. Value proposition, for them, they thought about having a sustainable, ethical, and empowering fashion. So it's not just about looking good, it's about also having a sustainable product that takes care of the environment, because when you're doing upcycling, you're actually reducing the number of waste going to landfills, because you're taking those clothes, you're refurbishing them, you're turning them into something new, and you're selling them at an affordable price. So this is why they said we will have sustainable, ethical, empowering fashion. For them, they thought about going on, the online sales channel. They thought about going with virtual marketplaces, okay, that they wanted to identify. And they were going to use social media, including Instagram and Facebook, and their own website to also boost sales. For the matter of online marketing channels, for example, they wanted to use search engine optimization, and they were going to make paid ads, okay, on multiple social media channels so they can push forward the brand and people would know who they are and start selling. And they wanted also to use newsletters to go for the marketing. They understand that they have three main competitors in Lebanon here: Emergency Room in Beirut, Rone Hello, and Fabric Aid, so a social business. For them, their product is, clothing, refurbished clothing. So most of the catalog that they have, or actually all of it, turned out to be sellable on e-commerce platforms. So they had like refurbished suits, they had vests, jackets, so on and so forth. And in order to do this business, they needed to bring in a number of people. So they need seamstress, they needed people for the website, they needed, marketing agents, somebody who's handling finance. So they needed human capital. In terms of CapEx, they needed to buy new computers so that they can actually develop the website and infrastructure on it. And they have everything, with a backup system and UPS, so on and so forth. And they needed to buy some fixtures and furnitures for their office. They had to buy supplies and raw materials. So that is also the key resources needed for them. And of course, they needed to have a strong technology infrastructure in order to manage their business, because they're going on e-commerce. In terms of logistics here on the side, they thought about having outbound fulfillment. So they wanted to have local and international delivery. For example, with Liban Post here in Lebanon, or DHL, so on and so forth. In terms of payments, they thought about having sales done abroad through online mechanisms, so online payments. And in Lebanon, they wanted to do cash on delivery. Okay, for customer service, they wanted to follow up using, first of all, if they're on a VMP, virtual marketplace, they will get the customer reviews and complaints through that VMP. But they also had a channel on their Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and email. And that was present in their, if you want, terms and conditions and in their policies. For key e-commerce costs, they were talking about mainly the marketplace fees that they needed to pay and the commissions. They were talking about the salaries that they need to pay and so on and so forth. And on the e-commerce revenue side, you can see just an example of the pricing that they had for their different items, and the number that they can actually produce per year, and the ones that the number that they expect to be sold per year. So that will give them an indication of how much money they're going to bring in versus how much money they are going to pay when they're running this e-commerce business. So Randa, I was going to ask them to share their thoughts now, but what I would do, I'm gonna, stop sharing my screen. Please share yours, and then we can reconvene and ask them to share their thoughts and if they have questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So
can you make me host?
You're supposed to be.
No, I'm not.
Co-host.
Am I, Elvira? No, I am not. Oh, now I am. Okay, cool.
You are.
Okay.
So Eva's here with us. So.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a business plan for a training company. A company that wants to train people with maybe digital marketing and later on other courses, and secure for them their jobs. So when we were trying to, so you see the business plan canvas is the same, okay? But it's the content that's different. For example, so when you want to talk about your business strategy, well, of course, this is a summarized form because we have worked in the background on the vision, the mission, and all that, and the strategy. So this company is an educational platform that offers trendy professional skills as digital marketing and content creation through concise programs with marketable skills integration. It can be both B2B and B2C, selling to corporates and individual clients. Customers can be unemployed people, graphic design, who have graphic design backgrounds, or have marketing backgrounds. We talked about what is the value proposition, so what makes this company unique vis-a-vis others. The online sales channels is an e-marketplace, their own website. The founder was planning on doing their own application, or they also did some courses on LinkedIn, okay? Their logistics, you don't need really know logistics because you're not in e-commerce, you're not selling a product, but you might need to ship the official certificate that the company will be providing once the course is done. So they would need to send them via mail the official certificate. The payment, because we are in Lebanon, so the banking system is not really working. So cash via OMT and bank transfer upon getting a job grant. So the financial model, if you want, is that to take a minimum fee for the course, a really, really very minimal fee. And then once they get their job, to get their first salary as a compensation if we get them a job. The resources that are needed, mostly it was going to be in online, but they needed an office space. So we said that we would need an office equipment. We would need to develop the app for people to access the courses. And on the expense side, the company, we need to register the company to have salaries for the employees and the teachers, and the cost of certification for these courses. The products and services, so we're not selling a product, we're selling a service, we're selling a course actually. It's a certified digital marketing courses with soft skills integration and job grant services for our graduates. Who are our competitors? We identified 4 competitors, and usually when we do a business plan canvas, the competitors we identify are those that we look up to, or those we would like to be, have the similar value proposition or similar or do better than them. The online marketing channels would be social media, and as I said, because it's a course, so it's going to be through LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, newsletter, marketing, emails. The customer service, so it's initially an account manager will handle the customer service, then a CRM system will be used. And then we talked about the costs and the revenue resources, etc. So that's it. So if you see for a service, it's very, very similar. It's the same structure, but it's a different content. Thank you. I hope
Thanks,
it was...
Randa. Thank you for the insight. So again, as you've seen, you can tailor the business model to what your business is all about. And this is what I said at the beginning. So it was actually a model developed in 2005, and then we refurbished it to use it in e-commerce. We can use it for products. We can use it for services. Now the floor is all yours. If you have any questions or any thoughts or any ideas, myself, Randa, and Elvira are here to assist you. So just raise your hand and let us know. Or you can write in the chat box. So Tofara, did we answer your question?
Yes, yes. This is quite interesting. Thank you so much, very much. Yeah.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone would like to pose a question, share a thought, an idea?
Please go ahead. Yourself. You can unmute yourself, Muhammad. Do you have a question?
Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I have one request and one question.
Yes, please.
Thank you. We have an idea. We want to build any startups. My question is, we need funding from some companies. And can you explain me what part of this export plan is important for, the founding company or fund persons? We should work on it because it's not kind of exactly e-commerce. It's an idea, it's a device, it's a very technological device. Can you please tell me what is important part of this export plan, business plan?
Now here we're going to talk about the canvas, the regular canvas with the 9 boxes. So usually you use this for yourself, so you would know, okay, first of all, where you're going at. Now, when you want to develop something for funding, definitely you need to have a business plan which is fully developed, and you would need to show them a fully developed financial model because they want to see the potential of your product, who the clients are, what do you expect in terms of, market elements, competitors, so on and so forth, regulations, and they want to see the bottom line of it. How much investment needed, when, for what, and how it's going to look on the bottom line. So the return on investment and all of the financial indicators for this. But to give you a more ample answer, I would refer to Madam Randa, Ms. Randa. She's the expert in terms of financing, and she actually presented a webinar regarding pitching to investors. So Randa, again, the floor is yours.
So the question is that how you want to use the business plan canvas for funding, is that it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so the business plan canvas is a tool, okay? What the business, for me, it's a important integral part of when you want to go to an investor, you need to present for them a pitch. A pitch has an integral part of it is the financial model, and then you have the value proposition. So the business plan, as Dr. Mazen said, is really a tool for you to use so that you can put milestones for yourself and you know where you're going. And every time you want to do, every decision you want to do, you need to go back to every part of your business plan canvas and say, why am I doing that? Because this is what I said in my unique value proposition. Why am I using this sales channel? And then you go back, you say, because this is the kind of business that I want, but then you can pivot in your business plan canvas. So this is your dynamic tool. But your business plan canvas is what you need in order to create your pitch deck, which is basically 10 slides that talk about your business, why you're doing it, what are your potential financial forecasts, and what is your ask. So when you want to go to the investor, you need to do a presentation at the end of which you need to tell them what you want, okay? It could be advice, it could be a technical assistance, or it could be money, or a combination of the three. So the business plan canvas is not what you go to the investor. It's something you do to be able to go and get money from an investor.
Okay, and I have a question. Can you tell me some resources about business plan canvas? I want to read about it more, and maybe some resources about financings. I really want to know because
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Your voice is too low. I don't know. Is it me?
Okay.
No, I can't actually hear him well either.
Okay.
Muhammad, your microphone is not working properly. We can barely hear you.
Okay, that is get better now.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, okay. I have a request. Can you please tell me some resources? I want to read more about this business plan canvas, and also about the financing and this business plan. Maybe some documents or book or anything you have.
Yeah,
sorry, I don't have a particular book for it, but you can go to Google Scholar, and you can actually look at scholastic resources about business modeling and business canvases. You can actually find it on internet, and you can find a lot of interesting videos from TED Talks and so on and so forth about business canvas, what to do, what not to do, the failover. But in terms of business canvas for e-commerce, this is something more specific to us here that we work with. But for the general business canvas, the 9-block model, you can find a lot of videos and a lot of articles written there from professionals about this subject. The same thing for the matter of funding and financing. However, we always recommend to go to professionals, those who can actually listen to you, understand what you need, and then provide you with the advice that is suited for you, not a global answer as the ones who are provided on the internet. So always go for professional assistance.
Oh, okay.
This is my recommendation.
Okay, well, thank you.
Muhammad, I shared the link of our previous webinar on financial modeling.
Okay.
The one that Randa did?
Yes.
Perfect.
So
Thank you so much.
the recording.
Okay, and it's about
Financial modeling for the startups.
Oh, that's great.
And Elvira, if you want to share my webinar on how to be investor ready,
yes,
remember
that one
I did
as well.
another one.
That one as well. So we have the one for getting investor ready and then the financial modeling.
And then with the business plan, we would have done the full circle.
Thank you, everyone.
Most welcome. Would anyone else would like to ask a question or share a thought with us before we conclude?
Mazen, you want to share your contacts, or in case they have any question?